that fear of being seen is terrifying, but also wanting to be seen and be recognized. That kind of balance with that. Full send it.
I can see you're outnumbered here.
Welcome back to another episode of the Rogue Academic Podcast. Our guest today is Tristan Brooks, a mental health and wellness specialist from across the pond. We met forever and a day ago at a Young Americans Performing Arts camp, and we've stayed friends ever since. A lot of people are thinking that things in the United States aren't that great, and they aren't, but things are tough across the pond too. So talking about mental health and all things in between, here's Tristan. Yay! I am super psyched that we finally got to do this. You know, after 20 years. I think it's actually been more than 20 years.
Yes, about that, if not longer. For sure.
Yeah, because wasn't it like 2006 when we last spoke, at least? I mean, in person, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that's crazy. Well, welcome to the show. And you are actually our second international guest. I'm so delighted to have you here. This is my very good friend, Tristan Brooks. We have literally been friends for over 20 years, and we met back in the Young Americans when we were both learning to tap dance and sing and do theater things. How are you, friend?
That was a time for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good. Very different life trajectory than what I thought would happen when kind of back in the Young American days, but I'm not mad about it.
Yay! Well, that's what counts. And I mean, that's really what this podcast is all about. You know, like the world has changed so drastically and so quickly that, you know, a great many of us are not on a trajectory that we thought we would have found ourselves like at all. I mean, by this time, I thought I would be like a tenured professor at a university teaching trumpet, but here we are, and I'm running a podcast. So rather than going into performance, you've chosen mental health, like counseling?
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes,
tell me a little bit about that, you know, sort of pivot, so to speak.
Well, it actually started in the Young Americans, if
Really?
I'm honest.
Really?
Yeah. The child psychology course that we had to take while we were there was kind of what kicked it all off.
I'm sorry, the Young Americans made you take child psychology?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so for people out there unfamiliar with what the Young Americans are, from my perspective, the Young Americans are a fun dinner theater troupe that sings and dances and does lovely things in the summer, and that is the extent of my interactions with them. But Tristan can give you more details as to the larger picture.
Yeah, so we had to take classes in California. Being an international student, I didn't have very much to do otherwise. I wasn't, allowed to work or anything because of the type of visa I had. So I just kind of took all the courses I could. And one of them was child psychology because of going on the tours and working with lots of kids.
Oh, that makes sense.
So I kind of had run away from a university course when I joined. I'd done a year of a chemistry and physics degree and then got into the Young Americans.
Wow.
And yeah, part of the kind of Young American experience was this child psychology course. And the professor that was doing that course actually wrote my recommendation to get into university.
Wow. So did you do your schooling in the UK or did you do it in the United States?
It was in the UK.
Okay.
It actually took me a further dropout and changing. So I actually started off going back and doing a psychology degree because I was like, right, cool, psychology. And then on that course, found a counseling module and was like, oh, now this one. No, actually it's this one.
Nice.
So then switched out to counseling and then got my counseling degree.
So why counseling, not therapy?
Well, counseling and therapy, depending on who you talk to over here, is depending on how many answers you'll get on the difference. There's very different kind of ways of working between the UK and the USA.
Sure.
So like over here, it's not a regulated profession.
Okay. Interesting. I feel like if you're going to be messing with somebody's head, you should be certified, but that's just me.
So there's like an ethical kind of minimum level that's kind of agreed
Oh, okay.
that you should have, but it's not a legal minimum.
Okay.
So anyone can set up as a therapist or a counselor. It's not a protected title.
Gotcha.
But there is a kind of ethical understanding through those practitioners who are working within their competencies and things, that there is a minimum level that you should have before you are seeing clients.
Gotcha. And so like when you said like, oh, counseling is the thing, what drove that? Who is it that you were seeking to help?
So without going into it a lot, so I have had my own mental health journey. The Young Americans didn't help that in a lot of ways.
No, really? The same company that body shamed me for gaining 5 pounds in a summer was harmful to your mental health? Say it ain't so.
Yeah. I mean, I was told whilst I was a Young American that it wouldn't harm me if I skipped a few meals.
Those jerks. I'm not surprised. That is an absolutely a sarcastic gasp for any of our listeners. Like, and it's not to say that they're like an openly abusive organization. They do good things. Their practices are just sometimes a little old school abusive, shamey kind of.
Yeah, they definitely were at the time. I don't know where they are now. I know they've been through a lot of changes recently.
Yeah, they seem to be good ones. I've kept in touch with a few of our mutual friends, and they say that there's been some positive changes. So hopefully their assessment's correct. So your mental health journey started to sort of shift during the Young Americans then.
Yeah, I mean, and being like on the other side of the world a little bit, it was quite isolating, and there wasn't very much support, and like being on a very limited budget and things like that, and then kind of returning and just kind of like being dropped back into reality after kind of living in this kind of this bubble of amazingness with all these amazing people, and kind of hitting reality, and then some kind of not so great relationships who didn't treat me particularly well, which is a thing that kind of happens when you're neurodivergent.
Yeah.
And so then I kind of needed support, and there was like a list of things that I needed, and trying to find my own therapist with the list of kind of things that I was looking for and not being able to find it really sucked.
Yeah.
And so when I kind of came out of it the other side, and don't get me wrong, I had an amazing therapist, but like she was like the best of what I could find. So I kind of decided that actually I was going to become the person and the therapist that I couldn't find.
You went rogue. I love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, I to offer what I wanted to search for, and so people find me because I offer these things that there's not a lot of us with this kind of combination that we offer.
That is extremely relatable. I am a late diagnosed autistic person. And my end of the spectrum is, well, I mean, the entire spectrum is just under researched. People just don't know a lot about high functioning, high masking autism because we're high functioning and high masking. So like, what's there to research? You're normal. No, I'm not. I'm very not. So, just that was a struggle for me personally. But in our recent conversations, you were telling me about neurodivergent struggle and then identity struggle on top of that. Would you mind speaking to that a little bit?
Yeah, so I did the whole kind of bisexual to trans pipeline. So once I had my sexuality sorted out, and I was like, right, great, and then my gender identity went, excuse me,
Hello.
We're not done yet.
Oh no! But also, oh yes, like, you get to be your most authentic self.
Yeah. So I had a whole journey of exploration of what my gender is, and that was a lot. And kind of coming out the other side and going, do you know what it is? Non-binary. And I started off purely as non-binary. I didn't associate with the trans label at all. I was like, nope, that's not my space. And that was mostly because of internalized transphobia. It was like, nope, I'm non-binary. I had convinced myself it's because I didn't want to take up space that wasn't mine. Like I didn't want to like being, I was being magnanimous and not like stepping into other people's spaces, when really it was actually like, oh, I see what's happening there and I don't want to have to deal with that.
Sure.
So I'm going to hide over here and not, I'm just pretend that I don't have anything to do with that when really I do.
So could you elaborate on don't want to have anything to do with that? Because in the United States right now, things are very dangerous for trans people. Is that the same in the UK? Like, do you feel that same way or?
Yeah, we're called Turf Island for a reason.
What? Like, you're blowing my mind with terms today, Tristan. And we'll get to the details on some of the other terms in a little bit. But Turf Island, that's fun.
Yes.
Okay, tell us a little bit more about that term and where it came from.
So TERF stands for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminist.
Uh-huh.
And the people that are basically kind of saying they're feminist and standing for women's rights, but mostly what all of their energy does is go into trans exclusion.
Ugh, not cool.
Yeah. A lot of the funding comes from very particular sources. I'm not naming very specifically because I don't want to give any social capital.
Of course.
To any particular.
Yeah. Let's not give them a platform.
People.
They don't deserve a platform.
Yeah.
And so all of this was happening while you were in school, or like after you were in school? Like how did all of this transpire?
That was after I was in school.
Okay.
My schooling was not easy. Being kind of out as a bisexual was difficult enough.
Mm-hmm.
So it actually made the gender identity questioning actually take longer. Because I was so shut down with my sexuality being such a big deal that it didn't give any space for the questioning of anything else. So it took a couple of years after I graduated for that to even kind of come up, and for me to even be able to have the space to start questioning and to start going, oh, actually, this is something that has felt different my entire life. And because I grew up, my main schooling was during something called Section 28 here, which was a law that made it kind of illegal to promote homosexual lifestyles.
Wow.
I never had any chance as a child to understand or explore or question. None of the adults in my life really had any knowledge. Like, the internet wasn't a big thing really yet when I was growing up, so I didn't have access to the internet to get that knowledge. So I didn't have really the language. I didn't know what I was supposed to be looking for. I just knew that something didn't quite fit. And so it wasn't until after my training and until I was like in spaces where people were using terminology that I wasn't quite aware of, and meeting kind of trans people who were just so authentically themselves, and I was like, wait a second.
Light bulb.
Yeah.
Did a lot of that happen when you were in LA, like with the Young Americans, or like, or was it?
No,
this would be
after,
chronologically after. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So do you feel like, gosh, okay, so you said since all of this like happened after your schooling, right? Do you feel like people treated you differently, or like did you have different interactions with people that like you know and love that you were just like, I'm kind of afraid to broach this subject kind of thing, or like how did all of that transpire?
There was some definite timelines. There were a few people who I kind of told straight away, because they had already kind of shared their truth with me. And so I knew that they were safe. And there were a few people who I told, like, can you try this name out for me? Can you try that name out for me? Can you try these pronouns out for me? Can you try those pronouns out for me? So there were kind of like little groups who were helping me experiment to see what felt right.
Mm-hmm.
And that really helped me explore and know what sat well and what didn't, so I could just be like, no, absolutely not. That, like, oh, I get a yucky feeling when you said that. No, absolutely, that doesn't feel right for me. And then there were people that I was like, okay, when I know, I need to definitely know, and then I can tell them, because they're going to have a lot of questions, and until I know and can answer all of those questions, I can't have that conversation with them.
Of course. Yeah.
And the very last people I told were my parents.
I think that's understandable, right? You know, having grown up in, what did you say, Section 28 UK,
Yeah.
that makes a lot
Yeah.
of sense, right? Now, I'm sure because you're a mental health specialist by now, you know, certified and bona fide and all of these things, that you had all of this very well in hand. And it was just a breeze for you to work through all of these things because you had so many strategies, right?
Oh, yeah. They say completely sarcastically.
Uh-huh.
No, I think sometimes, like, there's the kind of trope, right, as doctors being the worst patients. And I think that is sometimes true of kind of therapists, counselors as well. Because we will say things to our clients and then be like, not practicing what we're preaching in the slightest.
Of course.
It's like, I know I should be doing this, but I'm absolutely not. And it's not like, I've had the most amazing therapist myself now for like 5 years, and it's not until I started kind of seeing him that he was like, Tris, come on now, like, you need to start centering yourself, taking care of your needs. Like, your needs are valid, your emotions are valid, like all of the stuff that I say to my clients. I needed someone to say that directly to me for me to actually hear it, because saying it for myself wasn't working.
Yeah, that's super relatable, I think, for a lot of people. I have a really dear friend of mine who, I mean, like all of us, has mental health, you know, struggles. And one of the things that they've been struggling with is just getting in shape and getting off the couch and going out, even just for a walk, you know, to go to the gym or whatever. And then when they don't do that, they feel extra bad because they feel as though they failed themselves. And I was just like, friend, until you realize that your requests of yourself are just as worthwhile as someone else asking you to go, it's never going to happen. So make good on your promises to yourself, and I promise you, you will feel better. And I'm not a therapist. I've just been through a lot of therapy. And they reported back, you know, a few weeks after that, and they said, you know, what you said makes a lot of sense. I really don't have a very high sense of self-worth. And when you frame it from that perspective that, like, oh, I'm not giving myself enough like love and honor of my own requests to be able to honor my requests. That was a game changer for me. Not that I'm any sort of great therapist, because I'm really not. I've just been through 12 years of collective therapy. So what were some of the things that your therapist has told you that were like big light bulb moments? Like, what made the biggest difference for you?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think some of the biggest light bulb moments have just been when he's just kind of sat there as a bit of a mirror and just kind of been like, this is what you've just said. Do you realize what you've just said about yourself?
Ooh, I've gotten that one. That, like, even now, as you're mentioning that, like, that brings me back to my therapy moments where I've been told that exact same thing, and it has the same sort of visceral reaction in me. That one hits home.
And like, yeah, when you're realizing like how harsh and how critical that inner voice is.
Yeah.
And hearing it externalized is just like, oof.
Yeah. From a person that you know is on your side, that has established a baseline of being very much pro-Tris, let's do work. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Were there any other things, like strategies maybe that they gave you, or, you know, sort of tips and tricks, as it were?
That my therapist has given me.
Yeah. To work through some of these things. Like a lot of our audience is either diagnosed neurodivergent or probably actually undiagnosed neurodivergent. Most of us are academics, and a great many of us like have internal struggles because we're humans, obviously. But I would say probably the majority of our listeners are artists of some kind. And being that that's the case, they have an internal struggle between ego and id, right? This external, this is who I am as an artist, and look at me, I am so special. When on the inside, you're like, I'm a worthless, hopeless piece of poo, and no one will ever love me unless I'm amazing, right? So what sort of things either would your therapist say to you about that, or would you say to the people listening to cope with that?
Firstly, that's really relatable.
Yeah.
That fear of being seen is terrifying, but also wanting to be seen and be recognized. That kind of balance with that. Full send it, right?
Ooh, spicy advice. Do elaborate.
So you're always going to pull yourself back when you have that fear. So if you go for it fully, you're always going to pull yourself back a bit anyway.
Uh-huh.
So if you don't go in for it fully, you're never going to tend to go as far as you could.
Uh-huh.
That fear of failure tends to stop us acting.
Right.
It pushes us into a space of inaction. So we end up not doing anything.
Sure.
So we have to kind of be our own cheerleader to go, right, we're going to go for it. We're going to do it. It's okay. Failure is fine. We're humans. Failure happens. And I know for me, the times when I haven't quite got it right are the times when I've learned the most.
Yeah. So relatable. So like, do you feel like you identify with that because you have been in the performance space and that's like a relatable thing that way? Or do you feel like this is just sort of a general human existence kind of thing, ego versus id?
Bit of column A, bit of column B.
Okay. Gotcha.
In the performance space, like auditions, things like that, you have to give it all your all. Like if you're in an audition, like you've got to give your all. Because you will always come out, it doesn't matter how much you gave, you will always come out going, oh, I should have done this. I could have done that better. Oh, they did an eyebrow at that bit. Did I do that bit wrong? Like you're going to like be just going over every tiny little bit. Like, was your arm not in the right space? Like, did you do a slightly too much of a smirk or not enough of a smirk? Like, was the smirk even what they were looking for?
Uh-huh.
And so unless you know that you have given it your all and you are always going to be questioning constantly, if you know that you come out and go, okay, I gave that my all, you cannot do anything else.
Yeah.
If you don't get it, you gave it your all. If you do get it, amazing.
Yeah, that's so real.
Life, it's the same. I've been going through the thing with like my private practice, my business, like not wanting to put myself out there because being afraid of getting it wrong or being seen to not know things really held me back for a really long time. I mean, it still does.
Sure.
Like I keep going, I'm going to write a blog and then I don't, or I'm going to like start a group and then I don't.
Well, if it helps, one of the reasons that I was really excited that you showed an interest in being on the show is, as I mentioned, we sort of work on 4 basic principles that are just not addressed in our schooling as artists and creatives. And one of the biggest ones is mental health. We put all of this pressure on performers to be perfect and to do things this way and not that way and whatever. But we don't give them any tools to manage the toughest parts of being an artist, which often produce the the best art, if we're all being honest. Like some of the best art in the history of humankind was born of depression and image issues and, all of these sort of dark things on the insides of the human existence. And so I was really passionate about having you on the show because I know you to be at least neurodivergent. And I knew that you had quite a journey regarding your, finding of your most authentic self. And I don't think we have in our society globally enough people talking about these things openly and giving strategies and giving perspective on how to cope with this in the current day and age. Like one of the things I'm often very like shook over, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like how there can be so many like transphobic, bigoted people in the music space. I was just like, this is a creative space. Like, this is, I mean, frankly, where all the weirdos live. And, I say that with love. Like, some of my very favorite weirdos are also trans weirdos or, like neurodivergent weirdos. I'm a neurodivergent weirdo. But, like, how can you work in the space and then not be okay with those people existing? Did you ever find that in your studies as well? Like the study of the human brain would theoretically be sort of all-encompassing. Like, yes, we welcome everyone here.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Right?
You'd think so. Unfortunately, not. There are a lot of different groups within the therapy world here, within the training world.
Sure.
So there are therapists who don't believe trans people exist and that it is just a mental illness that needs to be cured.
Oh my gosh.
I've been called a lot of very heinous things by other therapists.
Are you kidding me? They call you names? What is this, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer?
Mm-hmm.
What the hell?
I've been accused of very, very horrific things.
Wow.
Just because of my identity, yeah.
So how do you cope with that? Like, how did you cope with that?
I didn't, to start off with. It used to really get to me.
Sure.
If being very honest, I didn't expect it. I didn't know how to manage it. I didn't know what to do with it. I internalized it a lot. It ate away at me. I was very angry on the internet a lot of the time. I would get a lot of my anger out by like typing away on the keyboard, like proving people were wrong and arguing with people in various threads on, different social media platforms.
Keyboard warriorism.
Absolutely. And that is just a waste of energy. Those people don't deserve my time, my energy. They don't deserve time in my head because they aren't going to learn anything. I'm not going to learn anything. Neither of us are going to grow as people. It's just wasted time and energy for people trying to prove the other person wrong. It's not about trying to learn anything. It's just about having to be right. And I was in that space. It was like, I have to be right. And it wasn't giving me anything. It was just making me angry. And like the kind of anger inside was just like gnawing away. So it was a real process of kind of learning to step back and being like, what am I getting from this?
Right. Yeah.
And I still find myself now like typing something and then going, actually, wait, no. And then just going, I'm cancelling it out because there is no point in this.
Yeah.
Sometimes I will still post just to be like, if anyone else is reading this, it's not going unquestioned. Trans people can read it and be like, okay, you're not alone. But that's only if I've got a little bit of extra capacity, and that isn't very much now because all of my energy is going into projects that are beneficial to various communities that I'm part of.
That's awesome. What are you working on?
So I am the head of access and inclusion for Bi Pride UK.
Wow.
Which is a national charity.
That sounds like a very big job. Excuse me. You did not lead with, I am a big, important, hell of a huge deal in the UK. We could have led with that,
It's a charity that's close to my heart. I've been part of it for a number of years. I used to be the vice chair a few years ago. I had to step back because I just didn't have the capacity to do everything. And then when I had a little bit more capacity again, I I rejoined as the head of access and inclusion.
Uh-huh.
So I do that. That takes some of my time. I just had a meeting yesterday about partnering with a city farm in the city I'm with to get some groups going next year for adults who are ADHD, autistic, because there's a bit of a gap kind of support wise. People kind of get diagnosed and it's like, good luck.
Oh, shock. It's the same thing in the United States. And what I find is interesting is, so I'm late diagnosed autistic, and I find myself on a like high functioning, high masking part of the spectrum. So everyone just looks at me and says, "Oh, you're normal. You'll be fine." And anyone who's known me for like more than 5 minutes are like, "She's not normal. She might be fine, but it's only through like significant amounts of effort and elbow grease that she's fine." And so it's interesting to hear that across the pond, it's the same thing, because I think Americans, or at least a lot of Americans, sort of fantasize about like a single payer like healthcare system where everyone is taken care of and everything is fine. And you're telling me that it's not?
No.
Wow.
No, not in the slightest. There's the government at the moment are really pushing a narrative that ADHD and autism in particular are overdiagnosed. They're about to do a whole kind of review. Services are being cut. There's for NHS services in particular, depending on where you live, it depends on the service. Some NHS services, there's like 8-year wait lists to get assessment.
Are you serious? 8 years?
Yeah.
Jeez. Like, and I mean, and there are significant wait times in the United States for a great many things, but 8 years seems excessive.
Oh, well, wait till you hear about the the trans healthcare waiting list.
Oh my God. Please tell us.
If I were to get referred now, which would be very difficult, it is very unlikely that I would be seen before I retired.
I'm sorry, we're the same age-ish. Like, I think we're within 3 or 4 years in age, and I just turned 41. So you're telling me that it would take you 15, 16, almost 20 years to be seen as a trans person for trans medical issues?
Yes, through the
What?
NHS. Yeah,
That's insane.
The waiting list is so long that they're like seeing people really slowly. The services are really underfunded.
Understandably. Like, I mean, I can't imagine the United States is very different in that regard.
And
but 20 years is a lot
for anyone under 18.
I'm sorry, what was that?
There's no trans healthcare for anyone under 18. So any kind of questioning or gender diverse young person, that it doesn't exist anymore.
Wow. That seems, and I'm not a mental health professional, but that seems like that is a recipe for a lot of suicides, if we're just being honest.
Pretty much, yeah. We're expecting an increase, but they also won't release data on that either.
Oh, fun. So you're being kept in the dark about the state of like mental health in trans people prior to the age of 18, which,
Yeah.
I mean, we want to make sure that everyone's privacy is protected, and I think that's a good thing. But like, if you are questioning your identity to a point that you are legitimately mentally unwell, you deserve to be seen and treated.
Yeah.
Wow. That is illuminating, because in the United States, and I can't speak for every American by any stretch of the imagination, but we often think to ourselves and to each other that they have it so much better across the pond. They have a single payer healthcare system, and they're not being charged $800 for saline solution, like those sorts of things. But it sounds like there is definitely another side of the coin that we're not privy to.
Oh, for sure. If you have like an accident or an emergency where your life is in danger, right? The NHS is pretty brilliant. For anything that is chronic, long-lasting, long-term. Like, I'm a disabled individual as well. I live with chronic pain.
Oh, gosh. I didn't know that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. You've got there's multiple issues going on. Like it's one of the reasons I don't do a lot of performing anymore.
Oh, okay.
Um, I'm actually a part-time wheelchair user. I'm an ambulatory wheelchair user now.
Oh, wow.
And I would love to be able to be performing more, kind of even dancing in a wheelchair. I see all these wonderful videos of people dancing in wheelchairs, but those wheelchairs cost more than my car.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
And wow, okay. Dang. So lots of mental health and physical health, like plate spinning, like you know that side of thing very well from a needs perspective, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So what, if you had advice for people in general, whether they're in the UK or the United States, what sort of things can one do to take care of themselves when they find, when it all just seems to be piling on? I have performance requirements, but my body hurts, but my mind isn't right. What do you tell those people?
Firstly, it's going to be, what are your needs, right? Because we do live in a capitalistic society where the perfect thing for you to do isn't necessarily the thing that you are going to be able to do for yourself, right? Because we
For a
all
living,
have
you
bills
mean?
to pay. Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
So, like, being able to take like 6 weeks off to just rest is out of reach for pretty much all of us. But when you're in the absolute depths of burnout, that would be brilliant.
Wouldn't it be nice?
Right?
Yep.
We are kind of products of our environment. We live in our environment. We aren't extra from them. So we have to take our environment into account when we're kind of looking at what's going to help us. So community is one of the best things we can do for ourselves, is find community. What that looks like for each individual is going to be very different, but finding that set of people that you can be your authentic self around, that you can drop your mask with if you're neurodivergent, that you can be your absolute queer self if you are in the queer space. Now, it's a little bit more difficult when you kind of have multiple kind of oppressions as part of your identity. So like if you are queer, neurodivergent and Black, finding a space where all of those things are accepted completely is really hard. So I'm not kind of saying just go out and find your community. It's really easy like that. I really want to recognize that it can be really difficult.
Oh, absolutely. And getting more difficult every day, as more, if we're just going to put a label on it, the right wing sort of like folks get larger voices and more power to segregate people. That's going to be harder and harder. So we're by no means saying that like, oh yes, sunshine, rainbows and kittens, go find your people. Yay. Yeah. That's not really a thing, but to some degree, I mean, I 100% agree with you, but to some degree that is difficult is what I was meaning to say.
Yeah, for sure.
So you have your own private practice now, yeah?
Yes, I do.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it sounds like that's like a gold star. Like, you went into counseling to help people and now you have this opportunity to help people. So like sunshine, rainbows and kittens for you, of course. But did becoming your own boss and business owner like have any challenges that were unforeseen? Like any hiccups?
Lots of hiccups.
Okay. Chronic hiccups. The NHS could not contemplate these hiccups.
Oh, if only they knew. I think one of the biggest ones was marketing, because none of my like training, none of my academic work, like even the postgraduate courses that I took, none of that prepares you for how to actually run a business.
Right.
No one tells you what paperwork you need, what policies you need, how to fill in a spreadsheet properly so you've got all of the things you need for your tax documents. Like nobody tells you any of this stuff. And you get bombarded by people selling you courses for it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, well, like, how? So I kind of like haphazardly went through it a little bit and kind of stuttered along. So when I first was like setting up my private practice, I was like working full time in social care and kind of seeing clients in the evenings and just trying to piecemeal it together. Luckily, I never kind of got into any trouble and just managed to kind of make it work. But yeah, that marketing side of thing and the admin side of thing, like, got really confusing at sometimes, and I got really behind because I just put it off, and because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know where to look. And when I did look, it was just everybody selling me these courses because they know what they should be doing, and I was like, that is really overwhelming. And some of these courses are really expensive, and
They really are.
some of these are like a £10 booklet. So like, what's the difference between me getting this £10 booklet and this £2,000 coaching course? It was just like so overwhelming. So I just like shut down and did the neurodivergent autistic thing of like, nope. I, in my kind of therapy practice, call it very technically the F it response.
You know, you can cuss on this podcast, but we're fine with the fuck it response.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
It has an explicit warning. Like, people know what they're in for.
Well, yeah.
If you listen to episode 1, it's basically all cussing.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
It's fine. But no, that's so true. Like, there is a fuck it response. And I don't think that's neurodivergent specifically. I think that's anybody being inundated with that much information kind of just goes, okay, never mind. I'll just hang out. It's fine. But you're so right that people are capitalizing on that space of people who are undereducated. That's one of the things that I'm hoping that this podcast can like fill in the gaps for people for free, I might add. It's just that we don't get taught these things. We especially don't get taught as artists, as musicians, you know, like, okay, here are all these musical skills and you can do all of these things and all of this la-di-da. Go audition for everything, etc. And then you're not educated on how to manage your mental health, and you're not educated on how to maintain your finances while you are struggling to eat ramen, you know, like that 50-cent ramen packet is starting to look pretty expensive, and oh no, I don't think I can put real chicken in it, you know, even if it was canned chicken. No one teaches you any of this stuff in school, and that's one of the main things that I'm hoping to draw attention to and help provide solutions for are exactly those things that you just outlined. It's just like, okay, this is all a great idea. I want to be my own boss. I want to be in charge of my own hours and my own payroll, but it does have another side to it that we're just not taught at all. And I don't know what the paperwork is like in the UK, but it's not entirely pleasant to do your taxes for Uncle Sam here. So I can't imagine it's terribly pleasant over there either.
Well, we have a slightly different tax system. So for me, it's a bit more complicated because I also have an employed role that gives me a consistent income, which, you know, makes me a little bit less nervous with like market changes and stuff. So that tax just gets taken straight out of my pay packet. Yeah. But then I have to do all my self-employed stuff myself. So it gets a little bit complex. So that was the bit that was just like,
Yeah. What are some maybe unforeseen positives that you've experienced now that you have your own practice?
Being able to be in charge of my own calendar is amazing. I know I am not great in the mornings. So on those days where I work for myself, I start later because I can.
Snaps for starting later. The world needs to understand that people, like on a psychological level, don't function well before 9 a.m. It's just not in our biology. Yeah. And hustle culture has ruined that for all of us. Thanks, boomers. Fuck you. We don't want to work before noon. And it's not that we don't want to work. We will gladly work 12 to 8 p.m. if that's the way it has to be. But don't make us get up and do things with our brains before noon. Fuck off.
Well, that's funny because on a Monday, I do 12 to 8. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah. Right. So being in charge of your own schedule, obviously. Like any other positives, especially from like an accommodations side, like that's something that is pervasive in the United States, is that people have medical needs, have psychological needs that are not being met in a reasonable way from their employers, right? And employers will kvetch on and on about, oh, well, what you're asking is just the stars and moon, and we're just here to employ you and all this bullshit. And it's just like, well, okay, so another guest on this podcast, not to be that person who references their own podcast, but I had another guest on my podcast who I briefly worked with, and our former employer wouldn't allow her to have a heating pad at her desk for her PCOS.
What?
Right? We sat in cubes for 12 hours a day, and she wasn't allowed to have a heating pad for a legitimately documented medical condition.
Oh, well, like I have a heating pad, a blanket, I have like wrist
Right?
warmers, I have stim toys. My cat comes for a cuddle sometimes in my
Aw,
sessions.
yay!
I mean, I ask before I pick her up every time, but so far not a single client has ever said no.
Yeah.
Sometimes I stand up and move. I've got like a rise recliner desk.
That's
I
awesome.
need to like stretch it out. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously there are benefits to being, in charge of your own
Yeah.
space and time. Sure. Speaking of like gadgets and gizmos and toys and such, because again, so much of our audience is neurodivergent, what 3 life hack gadgets would you recommend for folks that are like in a working space? Like you have headphones on, you have a cubicle, you meet with clients, etc. What are some things that you just like can't live without? You're like, this is my new favorite thing. This is the best. Do you recommend?
So things that come with me everywhere. I have an infinity cube.
Oh, what's that?
Oh, I haven't got with me. It's in my bag at the moment.
Of course.
It is it's just a cube that kind of you can fiddle with over and over and over, so you just kind of turn it in on itself.
Oh, like it changes shape.
It kind of flattens out and then goes back into a cube.
Oh,
and then you kind of flatten
okay.
it out
I think I have seen those. Yeah.
My girlfriend 3D printed me one.
Aw.
And so it has some really great textures on it.
Nice.
So that comes everywhere with me. So if I'm in like, even if I'm going to like play board games with friends, I always have my infinity cube with me.
So cool.
Yeah, I have different earplugs that come with me everywhere. They're on my key rings.
Oh, so cool. Which ones do you use?
So I have flare calmers. I have a set of loops.
Okay, heard about loops. Yep.
And then I have just a standard pair of foam earplugs. They are all on my key ring. So they're just in like a container that's just on my key ring. So I don't have to remember it. They just come with me. And then I have a pair of kind of ear defenders that are flat. So they go against my head, and they come with me if I'm going into anywhere that's particularly loud. So like I volunteered at an RPG con.
Oh, fun.
A couple of weekends ago. And so I had my ear defenders on because that was like in a big venue in London in the Excel. So that was like really loud. So I was wearing my ear defenders all
Totally.
day.
Yeah, I mean, so many of our listeners are musicians, so, knowing about different brands that do different things, very helpful. Is there anything else that you're just like, this is the thing, you have to have it?
My emotional support water bottle.
Yay! Hydrate or dihydrate, as the marching band kids say.
Staying hydrated is so important, not just because of like the health aspects, but being dehydrated actually has a knock-on effect for your mental health and your mood.
What? No. You got to tell us more about that, because, okay, in America, it is like a hustle culture related topic. Like everybody has to drink like 3 gallons of water a day or else you're like not macho, like it's like this weird weightlifter thing, which makes sense. I mean, if you're building muscle, you want to hydrate your muscles. But tell me more about the hydration in the brain.
You're mostly made of water, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
If you don't have enough water in your body can't do what it's supposed to.
But people don't think of that in regard to the brain. They think about it in regard to muscles. So how does that affect the brain?
Your brain's a muscle.
Brain's an organ. You went to school for this.
It is an organ, but you're also But you're working it, right?
Sure.
You're working it out like a muscle. When I say the brain's a muscle, I mean you're working it out like a muscle, right? When
Yeah.
you're learning things,
Yes.
when you're remembering things, you're working it out. I haven't done all my pre-spiels with my that I would with a client when I do that bit.
Yeah.
So we need that, but it also affects our mood, because when we are like dehydrated, we get grumpy, right? It happens when we haven't eaten enough as well.
Oh, so true.
Like we get hangry. It's going to affect the way your muscle sends signals to each other. It's going to send the way your memory works. Being dehydrated affects so much of our bodily systems that it just creates a sense of like feeling when we are consistently dehydrated.
Okay. So you're saying that you can get thirsty.
I mean, some people will definitely get thirsty. A lot of the times what we think sometimes for some people, especially a lot of neurodivergent people, we can not understand the messages our bodies are sending to us. We can misunderstand what they are. So we might think we're hungry when we're thirsty. We might think we need to go to the toilet when we're really nervous. Things like that. So it's really important to have things like your emotional support water bottle just to remind you to just keep drinking, because when you start feeling thirsty, you're already past the point where you should be drinking. You're already into that dehydration stage.
Ta-da!
There you go. Yeah,
we're sharing our emotional support water bottles. Mine is bright orange. Huzzah!
I actually have 4 of the same water bottle.
Nice, right on. That's awesome. Okay, we are down to the last, most important silly question of the day. And before we get to that, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your perspective with us. As I had said in our pre-show, I think it's really important that we give folks of various perspectives a platform to speak about their perspectives, and their experiences. And I certainly cannot speak to the trans experience. I cannot speak to a bisexual experience. I can help with a neurodivergent experience, but everyone's time on this earth is completely individual, and I am so grateful that you chose to spend your time with us to tell us about your side of things. I hope that everyone out there listening has gotten some interesting and helpful tidbits along the way. So last question, if you were a flavor of ice cream, what flavor would you be and why?
It's a fun question. And when you sent me the list of questions, I saw this one and I was like, oh, and I actually really struggled with this. And I probably did the most autistic thing ever and Googled a list of ice cream flavors.
Because of course you did.
And I was like, well, what do I want this question to say about me? What? And I sent a message to my girlfriend going, what flavor of ice cream am I?
Oh. I love that for you. I love that for both of you, actually.
And then she sent an answer back that I cannot repeat because it is far too perfect.
We've already had praline and Dix. So if it's more spicy than praline and Dix, I tip my hat to you.
It's not that it's spicy, it's just that it's very personal.
Oh, okay. No worries then.
So the only thing that I could kind of think of really was raspberry ripple.
Oh, okay. That sounds very pleasant. You're very pleasant. That makes sense.
Yeah. And mostly that's because I have a very difficult time with my memory. I have episodic memory issues. It kind of comes with lots of other health issues and the way my memory works.
Whoa.
But I have a very specific memory that stands out of my childhood. And it's one of the very few memories I have of my childhood of getting raspberry ripple ice cream in a place called Cornwall and eating it and being like, wow, this is the best ice cream I've ever tasted, and having to go back and get a second cone.
Wow. Cornwall, England, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm writing that down. I've got things that I've taken as bucket list places I have to go now from many of my guests, and putting Cornwall on the list for the raspberry ripple.
Oh, Cornwall is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a coastal county.
Dig it. So you had to get 2 cones.
Yeah. I ate one and then was like, wow, I enjoyed that so much. I had to go back and get another one, and it tasted so good. So when you were kind of like this, I was like, wow, that's coming to mind. And so because it's so present, and like being a therapist, being a counselor, being present is kind of what I'm all about. And it's like, right, this memory is really present, and it keeps coming. So right, that's why I've got to answer that, because it is so present.
I love that. That's so perfect. Oh my gosh. I'm like tearing up because it's like the most genuine answer. I love that so much. Well, again, thank you. I think that's wonderful. Thank you so much for being with us. And I hope that you have, and it's evening where you are, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Almost bedtime.
Oh my gosh. Well, I hope you get some good rest. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. And enjoy the rest of your week.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. And just one small correction. They actually wouldn't take 20 years to be seen over there. It would actually only take about 10 years. But even so, that's a little bit too long to be seen for one doctor's appointment. Thanks again for sitting with us and listening to our podcast. We appreciate you. You can find us on all places social: Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and if you're feeling a little bit of a need for a pick-me-up, a little caffeine, head on over to Hideaway Coffee of Fort Wayne. That's HYDE Away Coffee of Fort Wayne, and enter Rogue 10 for 10% off your favorite blend. As always, thanks so much, and we hope you have a great weekend.